issue we'll be looking at today is Buhari presents 10.33 trillion naira jobs creation budget to NAS. Federal government to spend 312 billion naira on power, works and housing. Draft finance bill proposes increase of VAT rate from 5% to 7.5%. 2.45 trillion naira on debt servicing. PDP challenges Buhari to make details of presidency allocation public. On minimum wage, why it is difficult to meet labor's demand, says the federal government. Personnel cost rose from 1.88 trillion naira to 3.08 trillion naira in 3 years. Outrage at sex for grade scandal rocks Unilag. University Foursquare Church suspend Randy lecturer. Institutes shuts down courtroom vow investigation. And Atiku Saraki others condemn menace, prefer solutions. And the last issue we'll be looking at, government increases hate speech fine to 5 million naira, inaugurates NBC reform panel. All this and more after this break. Welcome back. This is still the Fourth Estate, and on today's episode, I'm joined by two guest analysts. I'm joined by Mr. Muyiwa Akintunde. He's a journalist and media consultant, and I'm also joined by Mr. Osa, director. He's a journalist and lawyer. Welcome, gentlemen.
Thank you. Thank you.
Okay, let's kickstart today's episode with Buhari presents 10.33 trillion naira job creation budget to NAS. Federal government to spend 312 billion naira on power, works, housing. Draft finance bill proposes increase by VAT rate from 5% to 7.5%, 2.45 trillion naira on debt servicing. PDP challenges Buhari to make details of presidency allocation public. And of course, when this news broke out, with regards to the budget, they had this particular story had lots of reactions from different parts. Some felt the budget was good to go, and also the budget also received nods from different. But of course, the PDP, the opposition power, felt it was just a budget based on optimism. That is based on the fact that we just might get enough resources to finance the budget. While of course the Senate has said that this budget might cripple the economy, but at the same time defending over 100 billion naira allocated to the Senate. What are your reactions to this? Do you think the budget is good to go, or you have some reservations with regards to it?
Okay, it will be surprising if the budget is good to go, as presented by the president. That's why you have the parliament there, and that's also why you have civil society and the citizen generally there to critique the budget objectively, and that's the key word. Critique it objectively. Politicians will always play their politics, but let's also look at it objectively. First, for me, is that for the first time in several years, we are perhaps going to return to a budget cycle of January to December, and that is very significant in the sense that what we've done over the years is that by June, we are still discussing budget that should have been effective for January. And so by the time the budget is eventually passed, it will be just a few months to the end of that budget cycle, and then you ended up extending it to another year. And so I must commend the executive for presenting the budget on time this time, and I also hope that the legislature will also do their bit as a promise to ensure that the budget is passed and delivered to the president for assent, so that from January we start running it. That is very good for us. But as for the significance of the figures, I would think that that's 10.1 trillion naira budget is, given the circumstance we find ourselves in the country, is moderate. It could be more than that, it could have been more than that, but everything is based on expectation, revenue expectation. And oil revenue has been the mainstay of our economy over the years. Unfortunately, oil is becoming a hard sell in several parts of the world now, with the Western world particularly becoming technologically advanced. You have electric cars, you have all kinds of sources of energy that is not oil. So that is also shrinking our budget. Then there's also the drive for internal revenue, internally generated revenue by the government, which brings me to the issue of VAT.
VAT from 5% to
to 7%. If you look at what VAT rate is in other countries, even developing countries, Nigeria is one of the countries where we pay the least VAT. But that's not even the issue. The issue is that what do we use that VAT for? But the conversation for VAT, I don't think that that conversation is, maybe on part of government, it's not driven very well. Because people always talk about the downtrodden, the low, the masses. Largely, the VAT increase is not going to affect the masses. And how do I mean? Things like foodstuff and the kind of things that the odd man on the street generally consume are not vatable. So at the end of the day, it is only that what in this country, when a particular item is, when you increase salary by 5 naira, a particular item is increased by 5 naira, every other person, even if not involved in that cycle, will also want to increase their price. Exactly. That's actually where the challenge is. But for me, it is about what is the government using that revenue for. If we're using the revenue for infrastructure, in the end, we may pay more. For instance, they say they want to toll the highways. We may pay more for tolling the highways. But if the roads are in very good shape, and you can travel from here to any part of the country within a short period of time, it also makes the communities within that route to also generate resources, be able to make money. The more money you make, and you're able to pay taxes, and government is using that taxes to the benefit, I think that's the way I look at it. It's not about just condemning the budget or praising the budget, but looking at it critically and saying, how is it going to drive us from here to there?
All right.
Yeah.
Thanks, Mr. Aki, today.
Yeah.
Now, there's been a conversation all over social media with regards to the Senate. Italy now has voted in their parliament to reduce the number of legislators in order to decrease, the money spent to fund, their Senate, their parliament. And now the conversation has been brought back to Nigeria, saying that it's quite expensive to run the federal system in Nigeria. A huge chunk of our revenue is spent on paying salaries and trying to fund the federal system from the federal to the state to the local governments. Now, do you think the Senate should be drastically reduced in order to cut down on the amount spent? Should there be budget cuts in order to stop this debts and every other thing with regards to that in Nigeria?
Well, every idea has no consequence. When we decide to adopt the presidential system of government, we should have known that it's an expensive system to run, compared to what you have in Britain, parliamentary system, where you control the party as a party member before you elected prime minister and all that. So it cannot really put it down on the attitude of Nigerians per se. I know some of us have a tendency to abuse our office and abuse our privileges and position, but the truth is that the presidential system of government is an expensive system of to run. Most times, I also don't like this conversation of putting all the blame about expensive governance at the doorstep of the legislature. I think even the executive arm have not done good to themselves by driving the narrative to Nigerians to let them see how this is play out. Because we are talking of opponents in the budget of the National Assembly. Is there opponents in the budget of the executive? After all, the National Assembly were voted by Nigerians. You can say that whether dubiously or otherwise. But for a man to sit down, appoint ministers, appoint governors, appoint commissioners, appoint special assistants, they were not elected by the people. And yet these people have budgets. Have they told us how much they spend on buying cars for the members of the executive arm, the MDAs and what have you? So I don't think it is fair to always punch the National Assembly. They become a punch bag.
So beyond the National Assembly,
beyond the National Assembly,
beyond the
National Assembly, there
to
should be a total overhaul. If we are desirous of cutting costs, to ensure that we address the infrastructural deficit in Nigeria, then it should be a holistic. It should be done in a holistic manner, including the executive and the legislature. I won't say judicial, because judicial is underfunded. So those two arms of government, we have to address these issues of reducing the cost of running their personnel. It is so sad that you spend more on recurrent expenditure, like capital expenditure. And like he said about the budget, my colleague said about the budget, yeah, it's not just about the budget, it's how you implement the budget. And we should have a conversation about that. And these revenues that are gotten, what are they spent on? But one of the things that shocked me about the budget is that the money we are going to spend on servicing debts is higher than the money we are spending on capital expenditure.
So what exactly, because the conversation usually in Nigeria is that the federal government or whosoever would announce a particular thing, and you get Nigerians reacting, you get journalists writing about these issues. But what is the clear-cut solution to all this? Because as of now, Nigeria owes billions of naira, if not trillions. What is the clear-cut solutions to this?
One of the solutions is what my colleague had mentioned, which is that we have to really look at the cost of running government. I'm also in agreement with him that it's not about whether we scrap the Senate or scrap the House of Rep or either of them. We have chosen to run a presidential system. If we want to run it, we run it the way it's run. If we don't want to run it, we can change it to any other system that suits us. But the important thing is that we must deliberately cut down the cost of running government in this country. You have a situation where ministers have a pool of retinue of officers who themselves, there was a time that some governors were said to have about 2,000 aides. A lot of them, a governor that is in a particular state will have aides in different local governments.
I'm sorry to interrupt you. We've not really had a government who is ready to. I remember my government teacher telling me about a certain president, I think of Tanzania, who even after leaving office was, I think his child still went to public school. He wasn't living the opulent life we see our public officers.
Lateef Jakonde lived in his house in Ilupeju.
So we've not seen that same time.
When Lateef Jakonde was governor of Lagos State in the Second Republic, all the 4 years and 3 months before Buhari came and took them out, he lived in Ilupeju in his private house. He used his private car
You see, and that
as governor.
That goes to show what Chief Awoniyi said. If you are vice states, don't live the lifestyle that you don't be able to sustain outside government while I go. Don't live a lifestyle in government that you cannot sustain outside. So please, the way you act for your entire government, also maintain that kind of range. But what we have in Nigeria today is that you should these honorifics, excellency, honorable, distinguished. And these are people who are extinguished. And
they're placed there or they're voted in to serve the people.
Not to be served.
Exactly. Talking about senators and they are to represent a certain constituency at the federal level. And meanwhile, a certain local government or a certain constituency, maybe perhaps lack good roads, lack lots of things, are they even being represented there in the first place? Because that's the whole purpose of the Senate.
But do you blame those who have elected? Do you blame them? I don't blame those who have elected. No, well, there's no accountability, but I don't blame those who elected. I blame those of us who elect them and allow them to rub shoulders on us. Because we are the ones who have the power. The voters have the power, the citizens have the power, but somehow we have surrendered our power to them. Look, how many of them on election day, how many elite do you see going to vote on election day? It's ordinary people that you see going to vote. It's ordinary people that you see at campaigns. They should realize that, look, there is a deliberate attempt by the elite to divide us on basis of ethnicity, religion, and all those other things that are fanciful to divide us. And it's deliberate. When we begin to realize that we have common problems, we have a common problem, whatever tribe you belong to, when there is no electricity supply, there is no discrimination that I'm going to give to a Christian, I'm not going to give to a Christian, a Muslim, or thereabout. When we realize we have a common problem, then we all come together and realize that these guys have cheated us over the years, and they are continuing to cheat us. You have a budget, you are asking people to cut down their costs, and you are saying that the revenue share given to you is not even enough. What are you using that share for? What has been the effect of your oversight function, of your legislative project on the people? What has been the impact? And the same people in that same community who can resist it, who can fight it, are still coming to support you. So I say it's not their fault, it's our fault.
All right, many thanks. Let's go for a timeout. We'll be back after this break. Don't go anywhere. Welcome back. This is still the Fourth Estate, your #1 current affairs program on television. We've been having a very interesting conversation, but let's move on now to the next topic, which is outrage as sex for grade scandal rocks Unilag. Varsity Foursquare Church suspend Grandy lecturer. Institution shuts down courtroom. Vow investigation. Atiku, Saraki, others condemn menace, prefer solutions. Now, I'm going to kick off with this very last writer's story. Atiku, Saraki, others condemn menace, prefer solutions. Now, when this BBC documentary was released on Monday, lots of eminent Nigerians, spoke up. Like, okay, this sexual harassment must be dealt with and everything. But the question that lingered in my mind is, did we need BBC to tell Nigerians that we have sexual harassment in our universities and polytechnics?
No, I think what really happened is...
Okay, now the question now is, of course, they've spoken up against it and all of that, but we've had this issue of sexual harassment, but nobody, no leader has really, tried to make laws. Of course, we have the sexual harassment laws, but even in our own universities, when these ladies, or because of course both men and women could be sexually harassed, when they complain, 1 or 2 investigations are carried out, but at the end of the day, the victim is often shamed, often even, it's like, I know people who have gone through the sexual harassment issue, even after reporting such a lecturer to the university body, they still turn out losing at the end of the day. So did we need a BBC documentary to make these leaders come out to condemn this issue?
Yeah.
Well, the truth is, it's not as if we needed a BBC documentary, and it's not as if we don't need it. That's the role of the media. You, apart from agenda setting and social responsibility, you have the professional compulsion to always highlight issues of interest. So I think that's what we just did. And don't also forget, when people talk of soft power, one of the greatest soft power we have is media power. And then if you use it positively in the interest of society, it is better. It is possible that people are aware of all these things, but because nobody is putting attention to it, maybe okay, it's not a problem then. But now it's not like the issue of codeine. Did you need BBC to tell you that was a menace, especially in the northern part of the country? We all knew. I stayed in Kano for 14 years, so we know all these things. They are there, but because they highlighted it, government will naturally now want to react. And even on this, it's not only in our institution, in workplace.
We have there's workplace harassment.
Sexual harassment. And like you rightly pointed out, I'm happy that even though you have the other gender, you made a statement that it is not a one-way sexual harassment, not only man, because people have talked of women sexually harassing men. Most of these students sexually harass lecturers. I have also lectured, and have friends who are lecturers, and have been in a situation where talking with a colleague, a girl walking, not minding that you now have to lecturer sitting down, be begging the language, sir, that thing I just told you, anything you want, sir. And then my friend will not say, you mean anything? He said, please, sir, anything you want. So why should a lady come to a lecturer and ask him anything he wants? So it is both ways, and that is why we need a comprehensive law to address it, so that, like you rightly observe, those who name should not be shared necessarily. There should be proper investigation. It is because that structure has not been in place. That's why you discover that when you name, you end up being shamed. Now that it becomes an issue, if you put the proper structure in place, not even necessarily controlled by the university. It could even be a community team, elders, leaders, prominent people in society. When such things happen, you set up a jury and you look at it, and whoever is found guilty should be properly dealt with. If those kind of structure in place, people will behave. And I also commend, though there's a downside to technology, not the positive side of technology. Now that people have iPhone, camera, phone,
That
all
they
kinds
have
of devices.
evidence.
Yes, you know, lecturers will become careful. You know that before, I mentioned in last month, you know they used to do all this kind of thing, but when all those videos were coming out of last month, of trying to take them, I can tell that last month will never approach for bribe now. Because I don't know whether they have any camera in the car. So, with this kind of thing now, lecturers will become very careful. You know? Because even when you are making the advance, they will even have their own recording device to show that I'm not the one who did this, so it is the girl.
But you see, the thing is that first the question you asked was that do we have to wait for BBC to break this? No, it's not BBC. It's just that when you have traction, you have traction. BBC has traction. Don't forget there have been several instances. There was one at University of Benin also, a lady that was running a master's. That was the University of Benin or OAU. There have been several other cases of that nature.
One, I think,
but
was it on Wednesday?
Yeah.
It was in the news that the lecturer has been deceased.
Yeah.
I think Ado Kitty.
Yeah. So it's not just about the fact that we have to wait for BBC. No, BBC had to do what they do, and I commend them for doing what they did.
Yeah. They even did it based on this previous evidence.
Yes, but for now going to the issue is about, if you are a lecturer, you hold a moral, you have a moral responsibility over your students. It's just like a parent, because when you send your daughter or your son to school, you have ceded your role as a parent to a lecturer. And so you don't expect that in the home where you have your daughter or your son, you'll be molesting them sexually. So that's the same thing that lecturers should also consider, that they are not expected. Even if the student decided to offer his or herself, there's a way you can check that, a way you can always report that, a way you can always make that happen. You don't encourage it. And it's so very disheartening, this particular example in the University of Lagos, that it even happens to a man who professes to be a so-called man of God. It's one of the reasons why people like me find it very difficult to even believe certain people. Because one of the victims was even saying that while he was molesting her, he was writing the sermon for the next Sunday service.
That was.
And I said to myself that God is very patient, and I think it's the reason why the world is the way it is. If I were God, I would just smash him.
But thank
and
God
that. So, but it's about also lecturers realizing that they have that duty to the students.
A certain lecturer in an interview this week, I think on Wednesday, said that even sometimes, according to, of course, everybody knows that, he said some students offer themselves. But the question is, should you, because a student offers, you shouldn't. So
that's what I'm saying, that students offer themselves. Look, if you go out, as I do go out at night, you find all kinds of, if you go to a private road at night, you see all kinds of people offering themselves. That is an offer. He is a lawyer. He will tell you that if there's an offer and there is no counter offer, you accept the offer. There is a contract, and you go ahead and do it. So it means that even if a student offers his or herself to you, you know that you have a moral duty not to accept it. In fact, indeed to report it. So if you do that, it will not happen. It will not become an affair.
Okay. So speaking of rots in the university system, there were stories I heard, when in school then, that some, lecturers will go as far as making sure that, such a student does not graduate. And of course, the BBC reporter, actually is a victim of that. According to the documentary, says she's not a graduate. She dropped out of school. But if you want to prefer solutions, you spoke about, a jury where we have people in the community who would, give judgments to these issues. What other solutions do you think? Because of course, sexual harassment is a very, very, very important and very crucial thing. It's something that's eaten deep into our society, not just in our universities or polytechnics, and also in the workplace. So what other solutions do you prefer?
Yeah, it is sad because people parade street with degrees and they are not what they parade. When we were young, in school, we used to have ladies who don't come to classes, except during the exams. And when we were graduating, some of them got second class upper. You keep wondering, what happened? Because we were young, we didn't know. It's not that we are, okay, maybe. And you can't even, you would dare not go and knock on the lecturer's door to say you want to see him. I didn't know the interiors of my lecturer's office. But you see all these young ladies, so they don't even knock. They just open because they have familiarity. But to come to address the question you raised, sincerely speaking, I don't know if you have noticed a trend. This thing is not pervasive in the public institutions. How many times do you hear a lecturer molesting students in private universities? Because their parents pay for it, and then they are more monitored by the university authority. So what we need to do is to enhance the governance policies and principles in our public institutions. For example, if you have this kind of sexual harassment committee that looks into this thing, and they are not essentially composed of members of the academia, you can say, okay, maybe there are 6, 4 are from outside, 2, and it's there. You can bribe them, and you cannot even predict who will be a member. Those 4 members can be people choosing from society. So you won't be able to say, it's Mr. Muyiwa, he's a permanent member from outside. Also, director is a permanent member, okay, maybe I can go and influence them. No, you reserve 4 for outside, and then 2 from the university community. If lecturers know that they have such a committee, they will moderate. And if even, the administration of the university led by the vice chancellor makes a point of duty to give even orientation, to lecturers. Teaching is a profession. Lecturing is a profession. But most people are into lecturing today because they have no other job. Maybe if you are able to get a PhD, at least you are sure of lecturership or being a lecturer. So like he said, when you have lecturers who are trained to orientation, they know that they are in loco parentis to the students. They are their parents. Will you molest your daughter?
According to the document, it was actually, so to say, the undercover reporter, she pretended to be 17.
Yes.
That's she's even below the age of consent.
Yes. That's even the point. To talk about the punishment, what can be done about it, it also has to do with the fact that I know that some people have made reports, but you see, when it comes to sexual harassment, that's one of the most difficult things to report, because even the victim would not want to come out and say that I've been molested or this lecturer is molesting because of shame. So we need to increasingly educate people to say, look, forget that shame, because if you allow it to happen, it can actually get to a point where you will not be able to.
The victim should not be ashamed because
no, but they are afraid. We live in a society where even if you know that a husband can molest his wife, but you won't have that reported in this society, but in some other environment it can be reported. So we also need to begin to look at our orientation, our value system. More importantly is that this university should also try and set up a panel of credible and respected people who can look at every case that is reported. And as soon as they report the case, make it public so that people, it's a name and shame kind of arrangement that can work.
Of course, the conversation is on, and everyone hopes that the issue of sexual harassment, is put to a stop, ASAP as soon as possible. But on this note, we need to call it a wrap on the program today. Many thanks for joining us on this episode of The Fourth Estate. I'll see you again next week. Take care of yourself. Bye bye. My name is Folashade Obrege.